it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and it's time for another garden tour brought to you by my sponsors, Bessie Seeds and Savers Gardening Products. It's the beginning of September 2022, and a lot of things are done in the garden, but there's still a lot of things going on, so let's go have a look around. All right, here we are at the entrance. I had potatoes growing here, and I've picked those. There's still some potatoes here. I got to pick those. This pumpkin that I grew here are coming along. I got one, you can see that in there, one in there, right? This is a pretty shady spot. The trees here are just getting bigger and bigger, and I don't know how viable this is going to be going forward. The trees around it are growing up, and it's just kind of shady. So the potatoes I grew weren't that big. Pumpkins aren't as big as they used to be. I suppose if I was more actively training them up the hill, I think that's what I got to do next year. Really force them up the hill so they can get the sun. I think they'll do better because, yeah, it's just a shady spot. Moving into the garden here, we got some nice squash happening here. We got Mr. Salt hanging out and catching some rays. These are the Sweet Mama squash. And they're varying in size, but we got some nice big ones, right? So that's good. I find this a really good spot for growing squash. Over here, I've sort of squared these beds away because they're kind of done. This was all garlic. I've picked those. I'm going to put the garlic there for next year. All the Egyptian walking onions are kind of done. Finally had these bloody dock come back. So I guess they're more of a fall crop than a summer crop, because I really didn't see them all summer, and just the last month or so I've started noticing them. Still lots of French sorrel over here. And look, one of the seeds from the bloody dock just landed in the sand here and started growing. I should move that somewhere. Over here I got a very weedy beet garden. Still got some half-decent beets in here, believe it or not. It doesn't look like it, but that's what I get for not weeding the garden and not using a proper mulch, right? I'm going to do a video later in the week about, mulching versus not mulching. I mean, I'm a bit of a broken record on this thing, but this year was a really good example of the difference between mulch gardens and not mulch gardens, because some of them didn't get mulched. Boy, these dandelion greens have really... So, I mean, they all actually produce flowers in May, June, and I just snapped off and removed the flowers. But now they seem to be putting out some really nice fall greens. So, maybe I'll see if they taste any. I haven't had these for, I sort of forgot about them. I'm just noticing them now, because in the height of summer they look kind of sad, but now they're really starting to pick up and look really nice. So I'm curious to see if the fall dandelion green has any different flavor from the pre-flower. The ones before the flowers are really good. When the flowers come up, they sort of degrade a bit in flavor, but I'd be curious to see what the fall ones are like. Over here I got parsnips over here. I removed all the cilantro from this garden, so now I just got carrots. Another carrot garden over here. This was a bean garden, but the beans are sort of done, so it's just a weedy mess. When gardens get like this, what I do is I pull all the weeds around I do it around this time of year. I pull everything around the perimeter, and I package the garden up like this. Right, that's, I get my kids to help me. I'm drying some herbs here, but basically I pull all the weeds up that are around the side. I put leaf bags down, I just put something to hold them down, and just leave it like that all winter. And then you come back in the spring, and all the weeds have sort of broken down, fed the soil organisms. You just smooth it out and plant again. That's an easy way to do it, right? So that's what I'll be doing with this bed here. This was potatoes, they're all harvested. The beans that I was growing here, the pole beans, is still producing, right? But it's really slowed down the last couple weeks, and my kids are happy about that, because I was sending them out every second day to pick them, and we were freezing a lot. The freezer's full, right? So yeah, there's still some stuff coming off of here. And of course the bush beans I planted later in the season, my son just picked a bunch of these last night. It looks like he missed a couple. Anyway, these produce, they're almost done producing as well, but these are still producing, as you can see, right? But the bush beans that I planted near the edge later in the season came along and are producing fine. The kale I had here has been thinned out. I'm making a shadow here. Let me get the other way. So I thinned the kale out considerably, and it's really starting to come along. I've done videos on this from the past, but I plant my kale early in the season, but during the summer we're eating peas and beans and things like that for greens. Early in spring we're eating spinach. The kale but we just had some the other night. We really noticed a difference. The summer kale just does not taste as good as the fall kale. Once you get a couple frosts and stuff like that, the kale just changes fundamentally. The flavor gets way, way, way better. So when I'm eating this kale this time of year, I take the kale and I pull it off the stalks and I put it in a bowl and I pour boiling water over it and I soak it for about 2 minutes and dump that water. And yeah, I'm losing a little bit of nutrients with that, but the flavor, you can just tell when you've got young teenagers and young children, they eat things very slowly and they kind of look at you sideways if it doesn't taste good, and they eat it quickly if it tastes good. And when I soak these in boiling water for 2 minutes before sauteing them with garlic and stuff, they like it much more than just cleaning it, washing it, and cooking it, which is what I did last night. And it was like major UN level negotiations to get one of my teenagers to be exact, to eat the kale. And it wasn't good. My wife and I both were kind of giving each other that look like, the kid's kind of right. These do kind of taste not so good. Anyway, just a little tip about that. The cucumbers were a disaster. I got about 4, I guess that would be 2 gallons, 4 half-gallon jars of pickles, which sounds like a lot, but I usually have 12. So, I basically got a quarter of the yield I would normally get. Less than that, fraction, 20% of the yield. Normally the cucumbers are all the way up to the top of this cage. And I think the main reason is that I didn't get a mulch. Everywhere I had poor results, mulch is the reason. Look at this nice parsley. Look how green it is. Look how healthy it is. Right, I mulched that as soon as the plant was high enough to mulch. With these cucumbers, I was very late with the mulching, and I think they got stressed and stunted. Because the soil, clearly, look at this parsley. Look how beautiful it is. Clearly the soil is good. The grapes are doing good. They're still not ready to harvest, right? They're nice big fat grapes, but not ready to harvest yet. I think that usually happens late September, hopefully before we get a frost. Over here, these kale were kale that I plucked out of here and moved. And I just did that a couple of weeks ago, right? I had to coax them along, and you can see these ones were already here, right? But the ones I moved recently, you can see they still, it's a hot sunny day today, and I haven't watered these for days, but you can see they're a bit stressed, right? I was out here this morning and they looked healthier, right? So the roots are still adapting. And I took whole shovelfuls of root ball with them, but still, moving plants stresses them, right? But because it's so warm, we're having a nice September. I anticipate I'll get some over September, October, November. And plants really slow down in November, right? But you can get growth in September and October. Direct seeding the beginning of September where I live is kind of pointless, but just spacing out plants that were growing close together, giving them a new place where they can get lots of sun. Those plants, they might take a week or two to adjust, but you'll get the full month of September where they really, because you already get the roots developed, right? They'll really produce for you, right? So why not use the space? This was a garlic garden, but garlic's all done, right? Strawberries are all done, right? They have been for months. They're just gathering energy for next year. Expect next year to be great. Tomatoes look like they're dying, but I got lots and lots of tomatoes, right? Right, I got a whole big, coming out here and harvesting a bowl almost every day right now. right? I have to say I really like these Amish paste tomatoes much more than, I mean, the bush ones I got are very productive and they grew really well. I got lots of them. I'll put the name up, right? They're all ready to come off, right? All ready to harvest. Beautiful sort of, I don't know what you call that, like a beefsteak, I guess, but that's not what they are. Can't remember the variety. But flavor-wise, I have to say I like these Amish paste more. They're very moist, very sweet. I mean, you think of these, they're called Amish paste, you think they're for making sauces, but as a sliced tomato in a sandwich or in a salad, they are great. I mean, I think I might just grow these next year. I'm so happy with them, right? As a variety. These are more productive, right? These ones here, I got more per bush than the Amish paste. But I'm all about flavor. I'd rather have half as many better tasting somethings. Whatever it is, half as many better tasting is always better than twice as much okay tasting. To my mind anyway. I guess that would depend on what the thing was and, you know, how desperate one was for food. The zucchini garden, I didn't get the results I normally got, but again, it's because I didn't mulch them. So I came along in, I don't know, July, and pulled all the weeds and put down cardboard, and the plants, I've actually saved these ones and I got a decent yield. You can see some nice yellow ones over there. The Magdas are coming along good, right? So the way I grew these this year, they should have been just bursting with production in late July, but really it wasn't until late August that they were productive. And that's not because we didn't have a good summer, because we had a fantastic summer for growing. It was just me not doing the bare minimum, which is get that mulch down, right? To control the weeds, maintain the moisture levels, maintain the nutrient levels, optimize the soil conditions for the plant. I didn't do that, so they were, you know, they lost some time. But I guess on the flip side, for the first year ever, I didn't have too much zucchini. So I certainly had enough. You know, I've had enough to make all the different, I got lots of videos on things to make with zucchini. I've had enough zucchini to make all those things, and to make enough zucchini relish to keep Mrs. Maritime Gardening happy. And then they're still coming along, and I expect for the rest of this month, I'll be getting, you know, 1 or 2 harvestable zucchini a day, right? So that's great. Once a week I just make a big batch of zucchini relish. I tend to use the yellow ones for the relish, and I like these Magda, right? These green ones, Lebanese Magda zucchini. This is eating wise for salad or for cooked dishes or for whatever. These are fantastic. I will probably grow these for the rest of my life. I like to try new things every year, but these are so good. I'd be surprised if you could get better. They're great. I'm so glad that Vessi Seed sells them. I hope they keep selling them. I'll certainly keep recommending them. These collard greens have come in great. If you were watching my videos earlier in the year, they didn't look too good. I got a good mulch down, right? Put some of the compost from my compost bins down, and look at them now. I mean, they're just going to get better. I mean, a good fall frost, the flavor is going to be amazing, right? We had a fantastic harvest of blueberries this year. My kids were kind of not too happy about having to come out here almost every day to pick them, but we have a lot of blueberries in the freezer. And look, it's September and they're still, this here one was a bit later, this one's still producing, right? We're still getting them. You got to be careful because sometimes there's, like down there's wasps eating them, or hornets, whatever that is, wasp or hornet, right? I got stung in here one. The kids were picking them, and you could see they didn't want to get in there and pick at them, and they were wearing shorts. And I said, well, A, you shouldn't have worn your shorts to pick berries, but don't worry about those wasps, they won't sting you. And I waded right in here and started picking them, and a wasp flew up my shorts and stung me in the thigh. That's the story of my life with my kids. When I tell them not to worry about something and you know, show leadership and set an example, the very thing I said wouldn't happen usually happens. Anyway, you know, just one more. I never thought about it, right? But since the wasps are drawn to they like the sort of half, you can see them eating there, And I don't know if it's a wasp or a hornet, but they like the half-rotten blueberries, right? They just like the, I guess it's like a nectar they suck out of it, right? Right, but since they're here, you know, I've also noticed that, I mean, I've done videos where I show them that I use BTK to control the caterpillars, that the small white, there's one right there, small white butterfly. I haven't used BTK for 2 years. I'm sure I'm getting the odd caterpillar on some of my various crucifers, brassicas, but I haven't noticed a problem so bad that it warranted intervention. And from everything I understand, wasps kill those baby caterpillars. So I don't know if it's my blueberries bringing the wasps in, or just the fact that I've got a population here that knows my garden's a good place to get baby caterpillars. But like the kale is fine, the collard greens, I haven't noticed any real problem with caterpillars, even though I can see small white butterflies around here all the time. And they are the ones that lay those eggs. It's called the small white. And this broccoli, which isn't much to write home about, mainly because I have not properly weeded and mulched this garden. Also because these are sort of in the shade of these plants here. The position's all wrong. Basically, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I gotta move all these trees and stuff. They're just, having trees in the middle of your garden makes no sense at all. Trees and bushes, they should be at the back, right at the north end. But anyway, yes, these plants have not grown well, but I haven't noticed those caterpillars on them at all. That's not to say they're not there. They just haven't been attacking the plant in a sufficient number that I noticed them, which means something is controlling them. And I think it's those wasps. Anyway, here's my broccoli garden. I think I might do an experiment and do the same thing I did with these eggplant, where I came out here and put a mulch down, where I basically pulled all the weeds and put cardboard down and put the weeds on top of the cardboard. I mean, these plants really recovered after that. I still don't have, oh, there's one down there. There's a white one. That's something, I guess. Yeah, I'm still, this isn't the best garden because it gets shade from that hill in the evening. Certainly this variety, I'll have to look at the varieties I grew, and whichever one had a white fruit. I have 3 different varieties of eggplant growing this year. I didn't mark or indicate which was which, but these white ones are way bigger than these other ones. So I'd be inclined to try those again and give them some really good real estate. But nothing was happening in this garden until I dealt with the weeds and got a mulch down. That's when everything changed, and all of a sudden, you know, like a month ago, this plant was like not much bigger than that, right? So it did make a difference. Unfortunately, we had some sort of weird gust of wind here, and it blew over a lot of plants and almost like broke the stems. I had a lot of my peppers, I'll show you those in a second, but I came out here one morning and they were all flopped over, and almost all the corn was flopped over too. Now, I've harvested the corn since and used what I could, but I would say 60% of the corn were just knocked right over one morning. And I'm pretty sure it was just a gust of wind. I can't say for sure, but that's what I think it was. This weedy mess is actually a pretty successful onion garden. Right? I gotta pull these onions out, and I've got a lifetime supply of sorrel weeds. But yeah, I think despite all of that, because I did sort of, you know, knock the weeds down from time to time, I think that sorrel got enough light to, not the sorrel, these onions got enough light. These are Styrian onion sets, as I recall. These turned out pretty good. I'm happy with them. And it's just about time to start harvesting them. This is another onion garden over here, overrun with weeds, but still I got onions. Here I got some nice butternut butternut squash. I got plenty of them in here. This really productive variety that I got from Bessie's, right? The plants are sort of compact. I remember one person mentioning that they were awfully close together, because I probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 8 plants in here in total, right? And you know, I've been, whenever I see them sort of creeping their way into the walking paths that just move the foliage back. Right, so they're just all in a pile here. But certainly I'll have all the butternut squash I could possibly want. And they should last us well into February, March. I find that's about the number of months you get out of them, storage wise. These peppers, total success with peppers. Total success. First time ever in the Maritime Garden. Now they all got blown over, and I sort of propped them back up with sticks, as you can see here. Right, not all of them, but many of them got blown over, but I propped them back up. But these sweet Italian peppers, recommended to me by Lee Reich. He said don't pick them till they've got color. I mean, if we get any frost, I'm gonna have to pick them all, right? But some of them are starting to color up a bit, right? But look at the production. I've never gotten this many peppers here, ever, right? And I think it's because I got a variety that works. I gave them good real estate. This is a good bed and it gets good light, but also the variety. Variety matters. Fast growing, you know, bushy, compact. Look at that one. Look at the size of it. And they taste great. They taste really good. So I'm totally happy with those. Totally happy. This is a different variety of pepper. I got it just at a garden center one day. It's way behind the other ones I doubt it'll produce, right? So that's a transplant I bought at a garden center, as opposed to, these were transplants as well, that I started into my window back March 1st, I believe. March 1st. Still going. So very happy with these guys. This is a beet garden that was so overrun with so many kinds of, like the kind of weeds that are hard to pull. So I just came out here with cardboard one day and just decided to kill everything. Just cover it, smother it all out. We'll deal with it next year, right? Come up with a plan for next year. Over here, I planted sunchokes. The last couple of years, the things I've grown here haven't done that well. So I decided to plant something that's very low maintenance, sunchokes, in the bed. And I mean, these are 8 feet high, right? So I think it's a good spot for sunchokes for now. Maybe I'll do this for a few years. You know, we don't eat tons of them anyway, because they, you know, I love sunchokes, but they give you a lot of gas. So they're a nice thing to have once in a while. They taste great, but it's not a thing like potatoes or carrots where you can have them all the time. For me anyway, I'm sensitive to things that cause bloating. So I did plant some things outside the garden enclosure. I haven't really done an update on that. I really just didn't do anything out here. So I mean, there is stuff that grew out here. You can see there's a sunchoke flower, right? But I just sort of gave up on it. Again, I got COVID in May, June, and my energy for things just went down. So my energy for like extra garden this year was not at its usual level. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I think I'll just leave these alone and leave them for next year. Anyway, that's where we are here. First week of September 2022. Lots of things to harvest, still lots of things to come out of the garden. It was a great growing season. I didn't make the most of it because I'm blaming COVID. The whole family got it, and I got it, and the energy just went way down. I still got the garden in, you know, I proved to myself that even in a sort of diminished state, I can get a lot done, right? But there was a number of things, and I mean, when I say I didn't have the energy to do things, what I mean was that there might have been some tasks that only takes 10 minutes to do, and it's the kind of thing you come out in the morning and do. And morning after morning after morning, I'd just say, I don't feel like it. So when I say I didn't have the energy to do stuff, I don't mean I didn't have the energy to spend a whole day in the garden. I mean, in the mornings, instead of running out here for 10 or 15 minutes and attending to something that I would normally think nothing of attending to and enjoy dealing with. I love being out in the garden, you know, at dawn. But this year, I just wanted to lay around the house. I was really just down. So I just didn't do all those things, and the garden kept going anyway, right? I didn't get the best results, but everything still happened anyway. So I think it's, in some of these videos, I feel like I'm making excuses and complaining too much that things aren't as good as they could have been. That's really not my goal. I guess what I'm trying to get across is that even when you're not at your best, and even when things aren't ideal, you just do the best you can, and you'd be surprised you still get results, right? You're not going to be on the cover of a magazine, but that's never my goal anyway. My goal always here is to get the most out of the garden with the least amount of effort. Well, this year I put in the least amount of effort ever. And I still have, a beautiful garden. I got nothing to complain about. I got a beautiful garden. I got lots of stuff going on here, right? And I did so little. So, nothing to complain about. Everything to be happy about. So I hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast at maritimegardening.com. Maybe subscribe to my weekly newsletter, 1,000 words a week. Articles written on everything related to gardening at maritimegardening.substack.com. If you sign up for a paid subscription, and you're one of the first 100 people to do that, you got a chance to win $100 of a $100 seed coupon at the online seed provider of your choice. Okay. Once it gets to 100, I'll roll that over, and the next 200, those first 100, the next 100 of the next 200, every 100 new paid subscribers have a chance to win a $100 seed coupon at the online seed provider of their choice. That doesn't matter if you live in Canada, the US, or wherever. As long as I can buy the gift certificate for you, you can get that deal. Other than that, until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. Hey folks, want to help support everything I'm doing here? Check out my sponsors, Vessie's Seeds and Safer's Gardening Products. For Vessie's, go to their website, vessies.com, and use my coupon code GAVS22, and you'll get free shipping as long as there's a pack of seeds in your order and there's no oversized items in your order. Check out the description box of this video for details. For Safer's products, Woodstream products, you can buy all the things I use in my garden, slug, snail killer, BTK, Endall. You can buy that from Vessie's, or you can go to their websites for a much wider range of products to solve just about any kind of problem that you can imagine with high quality natural ingredients like oils from seeds and flowers and stuff like that. If you're in Canada, go to woodstreambrands.ca, and as long as your order is over $69, you get free shipping. If you're in the United States of America, then go to saferbrand.com, and as long as your order is over $45 US, you'll get free shipping from them. So yeah, if you want to help support the channel and the podcast, and they sell something you need, buy it from them, and that'll help support everything I'm doing here. Thanks a lot.